Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the opening round 1 of 10 for the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, your official commentator throughout the proceedings, and we have a fantastic event in prospect. 10 rounds spread over the next few months. So we're here at Donington Park for the national circuit, for the first three of 30 races. There's Peter Bennett from Rage Racing in the 87 MG6 GT. Is making his way down towards the Craner curves. So a packed calendar. So the tracks, we're here at Donington National. In a couple of weeks' time, we go to Brands Hatch at the Garden of England at the Indy circuit for rounds 4 to 6. Then we head to Silverstone National, Thruxton, Alton Park, Snetterton, the 300 circuit, Croft, Knockhill, Silverstone International, and rounding things off as customary with touring cars here in the UK, Brands Hatch Grand Prix, and that is on the 13th of October. So we have 20 drivers here with us this evening, approximately. 6 different manufacturers represented, and quite an interesting plethora of skill sets. So we have Ford, Vauxhall, Mercedes, MG, Subaru, and BMW all represented here. So we're coming into the last 7 and a bit minutes of practice here. Currently fastest of the drivers so far in the number 29 Mercedes A45 is Jack Nichols from King's Racing. Then it's Mike Bell in the number 5 from Smile Power Racing. They're running a trio of Vauxhall Astras. Then we've got Mike Bell, we've got Mike Bell. It looks like Chris Butcher is also from the Smile Power Brigade. It's just overtaken Jack Nichols by just 75 thousandths of a second as we come into the dying stages of free practice. The format is as follows. So we have a half-hour practice session. Then at 8 o'clock, we'll start with a 15-minute qualifying session. The first race will be at 8:25, local time here in the UK, 8:50 for race 2, and then race 3, it will start at 9:20 this evening. So the points, it will be from first to 15th position, starting with 20 points for first. And if you pick up pole position, you will get a point. And that is even if post any sort of decision by race control and race direction as to whether that might be changed, the driver will still keep the point. A fastest lap will also be on offer, fastest lap point thereof, as long as you're inside the top 15 and you have classified to finish the race itself. So there is Chris Butcher in the number 65 Vauxhall Astra, deciding to pull to one side as one of the Ford Focuses looks to be exiting the pits. So Donington Park National Circuit first made its original British Touring Car Championship debut back in 1977. That's pretty much nearly 43 years ago. Last year's qualifying lap record, or the qualifying lap record held here at Donington Park, is held by the most successful British touring car championship driver in terms of race wins. That is, of course, Jason Plato. A 1 minute 9.460, with the drivers actually going nigh on a second quicker than that, especially in the case of both Misters Butcher and Nichols at the moment. The race lap record is held by one Rory Butcher from Scotland. Last year he set a 1 minute 9.586. A few more clarifications. With teams that have 3 drivers, they have to nominate 2 drivers to be the respective point scorers in the team standings. However, if the teams do not provide such information, then it will be designated by the VMO, the governing body of the Touring Car UK Championship, to designate that the lowest 2 placed drivers will be the point scorers for a particular round of the season. Also, balance of performance. So they will be looking at the performances of the cars throughout the season. So the variances in case of lap times, fastest laps, overtaking, power through the corners, through the apexes. There's a lot of telemetry that the Virtual Motorsport Organisation, the VMO, who are the governing body, will be able to look at and ascertain what restrictions. There is also success ballast. So if you take a race victory, you have a maximum of 60 kilos added to your race car. And if you finish as low as 10th, it's 6 kilos added to the weight of your car. So Chris Butcher and Jack Nichols are in first and second respectively, just 75 thousandths of a second apart. Mike Bell rounds out the top three. Then it's the number 27 of SRR Motorsports, Sam Fowler, running one of the three BMW 125i M Sports, as Mike Bell gets a bit hungry on the curbs coming out of the Fogarty S's and across the start-finish line. Currently still in P3 at the moment, was just over half a second slower on that particular lap time. But Dan Kell, as we enter into the last 180 seconds here in the opening practice session for the VMO Touring Car UK Championship. Oh, Mike Bell, a bit of trying to do a bit of a Scandinavian flick there, or probably just got so much understeer that the rear end tried to step out. So the circuit length, 1.98 metres. 1.98 miles, my apologies there. As Matt Richards in the number 4, one of the Zansho SimSport Ford Focus RSs, racing this evening, has yet to set a lap time, but is currently on circuit at the moment. Whereas the number 35 of Max Tad, one of the other BMWs from SRR Motorsports, has also yet to set a lap time. So the practice session itself, there's been a few changes up at the top of the tree. So Dan Kell has gone to within 56 thousandths of a second. There's Scott Mitchell in the Sister Kings racing car to Jack Nichols. Scott's currently ahead of his teammate at the moment in the number 22 Mercedes A45. And looking very well planted there is Mitchell. So Butcher, with a minute and a half left on the practice timer still to go, is in first at best lap from the number 65, a 1 minute 8.322. There's Chris Butcher himself, going up towards McLean's, and then Coppice before heading onto the Dunlop Straight. So through Coppice comes the Vauxhall Astra. Dan Kell in second, Scott Mitchell in third, Jack Nichols, Mike Bell, Sam Fowler. And you've also got Matthew Clipp in the 92. Costas Avram in the number 26 from FMP, currently running in the MG6 GT. Then Ben Willis rounds out the top 10, separated by just 0.885 of a second. There's Max Tad in the 35, currently out on circuit. So everyone apart from Max Tad at the moment has set a respective lap time. And Tad goes through, as that now is the end of the free practice session here at Donington Park National, ahead of qualification, which will take place very, very shortly. So it'll be 15 minutes for the drivers to decide the grid for the first of 3 races here, as Tad gets a bit sideways coming through the craners into the old hairpin and goes grass tracking a little bit. Still keeps the BMW 125i M Sport on circuit, going through McLean's. And, yep, that's it. That completes the session. So Chris Butcher ahead of Dan Kell, Scott Mitchell, rounding out the top 5, separated by just over 0.2 of a second. Fantastic circuit here at Donington Park. I've commentated myself here previously with the BRSCC last year, with the Caterham weekend. It's also the host of a lot of great action, not just the British Touring Car Championship, but British GT, the BRSCC, as the drivers now start making their way onto the 1.98 mile circuit here at Donington Park National for qualifying for the first round of the VMO Touring Car UK Championship. There's Ben Willis in the Drake Racing Subaru Levorg GT, the car that helped Ashley Sutton to his 2017 British Touring Car Championship crown. As the drivers now start filtering their way through Redgate. And then there's Alexander van der Voorde in the 38 Ford Focus. One of 4 Fords, the other 3 being run by Sancho Simsport. That's got Dan Kell, Lewis McGlade and Matt Richards in that trio. Now, at the moment, the only driver that's starting to exit, there's a couple of drivers exiting the pits. One of them is Scott Sovic from Smile Power Racing in the third of 3 Vauxhall Astras being fielded by them. So this is just going to give us an idea of who's definitely getting the brakes and the tyres up to temperature for their first hot lap. And with Butcher showing the initial place in free practice, as Van der Voorde comes out of the Fogarty S's to start his first flying lap. And now Van der Voorde goes through. Matt Richards crosses the start-finish line in the number 4 Ford Focus. And Richards has partnered with Dan Kell and Lewis McGlade. So at the moment, Lewis McGlade is actually the fastest through Sector 1, and that was quickly deposed by the Astra of Chris Butcher, who's actually gone purple in Sectors 1 and 2. We'll make that Mike Bell in the number 5 Astra. So the 2 Smile Power Racing Astras as Richard runs wide. That looks to be on the approach up to Coppice. So Bell has set the benchmark of a 1 minute 8.571, 11 thousandths quicker than his teammate Chris Butcher. Max Tad is the quickest of the SRR Motorsport BMWs, currently rounding out the top 3, but still has nearly 0.3 of a second to find. Dan Kell in 4th, Costas Avaram and Scott Mitchell round out the top 6, all separated by 0.628 of a second. As it looks like Phil Morby, I think, is just exiting the pit lane. Well, he is out on track at the moment, so exiting the pits at the moment will be Max Tad, Dan Kell and Costas Avaram. I think so. Dan Hyde is on circuit. He's currently running in the M6 GT. MG6 GT. Sorry, my apologies there. Trying to get my name, numbers, and letters out there. As Richards looks a bit more composed through McLean's. So Max Tad now has started to rejoin here, as there is the number 14, Phil Morby, and that very brightly coloured Subaru Levorg. He's behind one of the Smile Power Racing Astras. Might be Chris Butcher just up ahead in the 65, and just behind is another one of the Smile Power Astras, and that is Butcher just up ahead. So Morby trying to use a bit of yardstick motion here with regards to Chris Butcher as they both come across the line. Scott Mitchell has just done a personal best of 1 minute 8.878, and that puts him within 0.3 of provisional pole position for race 1 out of 30. So already the top 14 have got a lap in the books. Top 14 will make that the top 15 is Sam Fowler. Now is deposed down to P15. And the top 12 separated by just over 9/10 of a second here at the moment at Donington Park National. And just to let you know that there are opportunities. If you have a copy of R Factor 2 and you want to get involved with us here at the VMO TC UK Championship, there are plenty of opportunities. After this week, we have 9 more rounds to go, another 27 races. Fastest lap of the qualifying session so far is Chris Butcher from Smile Power Racing in the 65 Astra. Great job from him so far, as we are coming into the second third of this qualification session. There's plenty of spaces available for the grids on the next race, which will take place on the 9th of June in 2 weeks' time from tonight at Brands Hatch Indy, the Garden of England. A fantastic circuit in Kent. Had the opportunity to be there many a time for the likes of the British Touring Car Championship, the DTM, W Series, amongst other championships. And yeah, it's definitely a circuit that you should give it a chance at. So please feel free to get involved, get your entries in. Why not contact the VMO directly via Facebook? You can also follow them on Twitter, amongst other things. There's Daniel Slattery in the 24 Rage Racing MG6 GT. Some pretty colourful liveries here in the VMO Touring Car UK Championship. And some drivers will try and use the sausage curbs to their advantage, but in some respects you can unsettle the vehicle quite considerably. As that was, I think that was Sam Fowler just coming out of the pits from SRR Motorsport in the so Slattery decides to reset, and I think that is so there is a number 92, and that is of Matthew Clipp, who's currently running P4. And Matt Richards has now, in the number 4, Sancho Simsport Ford Focus, gone to provisional pole as Jack Nichols crosses the line. Best effort for the number 29 in the Mercedes, 1 minute 8.647, as he locks up coming through Redgate down through to Hollywood, and then the roller coaster ride down through the Craner curves into the old hairpin, as you can just see how much both Nichols and the driver in front, I think that is Van der Roede in the Ford Focus, and look at how committed Jack Nichols is in the Kings Racing Mercedes, as one of the SRR Motorsport drivers keeps out of the way. Good spatial awareness there, not to impede someone on qualification, as Nichols runs a bit too wide there, but still keeps the foot planted to the floor. So now heading towards the Fogarty S's after the Dunlop straight. And yeah, Jack Nichols decides to reset there. 6 minutes and 25 seconds to go, and it is still pretty much undecided. I think you could factor anything into this. Scott Mitchell again improves, so 1 minute 8.682. In the number 22 Kings Racing car, there's Costas Avram in the FMP MG6. Currently running P11, and it's quite close between the top 12, 0.655 between those drivers so far. As Avram, as a bit of a moment, the rear end steps out, and that I think was going through old hairpin. And Sovic. So the number 55, Vauxhall Astra, currently running in P5 in qualification, as we're fast approaching the final So Dan Kell is out of the trio. He's actually not the slowest out of the 3 Sancho Simsport cars. That's Lewis McGlade, who rounds out the top 12. Kell is currently running in P10. He now crosses the line again. Let's see, does he improve? He does, and goes P9 ahead of Max Tad. from SRR, as Matt Richards now further extends the gap in the number 4 Ford Focus. Absolutely flying at the minute. The number 4 has just done a 1 minute 8.054. So in many respects, you could say that it's not going to be easy if Matt Richards, he has quite a dominant gap over Chris Butcher. But now Jack Nichols has got ahead of his King's Racing teammate Scott Mitchell for P6. Did see they were both pushing. Mitchell's gone, I think he's gone fastest in Sector 1 and Sector 2 out of everybody this session so far. Ben Willis is the fastest in Sector 3. Or just, no, that's actually Richards, my apologies there. But a lot of the drivers are improving. Ben Willis up to P11. Phil Morby up into P15. There's Chris Butcher. He's got nearly 3:10. Oh, he literally does a Knight Rider style ski jump through the ski mode through both sides of the Fogarty S's on entry and exit. As the number 24 MG, that's of Dan Slattery from Range Racing. So we're fast approaching the end of this qualifying session, and at the moment, Matt Richards is possibly going to be the first person to pick up a point this season with an absolutely blinding time. Chris Butcher, Mike Bell haven't really had much to say about that, but Matthew Clipp is trying to get his way up the order as the number 92. Cadan Casual Apex, so he is a teammate of Dan Hyde. So he adds another name to the list that I've got here in front of me. And so Dan Kell in the 89 Sancho Simsport car has a bit of work to do. It's currently behind Jack Nichols and Scott Mitchell from King's Racing. So Bennett crosses the line. So this will be now to a flyer for the 87. There's more drivers now thinking, right, okay, they've got an opportunity for an out lap and a warm-up lap, and some of the drivers that need to make inroads is Lewis McGlade. Let's see what happens when he crosses the line. Has he improved? I think that was just an out lap, to be honest with you, so no real improvement there. As we go on to the bonnet can of Lewis McGlade as he goes through Hollywood. Now the dip down into the Craner curves. And you've got to be fully committed, but then you've really got a hefty braking zone here into Old Hairpin. Up a slight crest. So moves across the right into the left here. Then further up the hills. The engines are really being strained, as are the tyres, on the approach to McLean's. Another tight braking zone. And he runs wide out of the corner to get as much apex speed as possible through into Coppice, but he lets through. That's Phil Morby. So just under 60 seconds remain in this qualification session for the first race out of 30 for the VMO Touring Car UK Championship. Please feel free to get in touch through the VMO's through Virtual Motorsport Online's official Facebook and Twitter channels. So Phil Morby improves up to P10 behind Scott Mitchell. And that is exactly 0.666 of a second off of Richard's pace. There's Dan Hyde in the number 2 MG6 GT from Cadan Casual Apex. He crosses the line. P17, but he did actually do a personal best, and that is the session completed Some drivers, I think, are just on their final laps here, as that will include Lewis McGlade, Phil Morby up to P10. Oh, nice work by Nichols to go P5 on his last attempt, but then quickly gets deposed by Dan Kell in the number 89. So Morby in the Subaru. Oh, runs wide coming out of the Fog TSs and hits the barriers. Not what the Subaru driver wanted in the Moby Motorsport Levorg GT. McGlade crosses the line and goes P11 on that attempt. So, but it pretty much looked. Car UK Championship goes to Matt Richards from Zansho Simsport. Chris Butcher, Mike Bell, Sam Fowler, Dan Kell round out the top 5, all separated by just under 0.4 of a second. Just behind them is Jack Nichols from Kings Racing in the number 29 Mercedes, Matthew Clipp in the 92 MG, Scott Sovic, Max Tad and Scott Mitchell in the number 22 Mercedes round out the top 10, separated by just over 0.6 of a second. Lewis McGlade, Phil Morby, Ben Willis, Kostas Avram, Daniel Slattery, Alexander van der Voorde, Daniel Hyde and Peter Bennett round out the 18 that will go into battle in just a couple of minutes' time as we get set, ready to go racing for the first of 3 rounds here at Donington Park National for the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship. So we're underway with the formation lap for the first of 30 races here on the VMO Touring Car UK Championship. Let's run you through the grid for race 1 here at Donington Park National. On pole position will be the number 4 of Matt Richards in the Ford Focus. Alongside will be Chris Butcher in the 65 Astra. Then it's Mike Bell in the 5, Sam Fowler in the 27. Then it is Dan Kell in the number 89. Alongside him on row 3 will be the Kings Racing, number 29 of Jack Nichols. Matthew Clipp in the 92 MG from Cadan Casual Apex. And Scott Sovic in the number 55 Vauxhall Astra from Smile Power Racing. Max Tad from... So Matthew Clipp looks to be a little bit further back than everybody else because he spun on the formation lap. So that won't be great for him. It's due to start in P7. So Sovic, Tad and Mitchell round out the top 10 ahead of Lewis McGlade, Phil Morby, Ben Willis, Costas Avram, Daniel Slattery, Alexander van der Vude, Daniel Hyde and Peter Bennett. So the race will be 16 laps in duration here as they're making their way over the crest of the Dunlop Straight. So Richards and Butcher will be on the front row of the grid. There's Dan Kell. We'll start from the inside of row 3. And just behind him will be Jack Nichols in the 29 Mercedes from Kings Racing. So Richards and Butcher get into their positions here. I'll try to. So the car's trying to get into position. Looks like Clipp is trying to do the same before they start to ignite the 5 red lights on the starting gantry. 16 laps, just under 32 miles here at Donington Park National. We are about to get underway for the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship here at Donington Park. Red lights are igniting, green flag waves. We are off and away down towards Redgate for the first time. Richard gets a little bit of a lead. Butcher right behind him as it is getting a bit 3 abreast and 2 are involved. That looks to be Clipp and also Sovic. And one of the Smile Power Racing Astras go wide through Hollywood as they head down through into the Craner Curves for the first time. There's Dan Kell, now up into P3. Just up behind the Smile Power Racing 65 Astra of Chris Butcher. So at the moment it is Richards, Butcher, Kell, Fowler, Clipp, Bell, Nichols, Tad, Morby, Mitchell rounding out the top 10. As, bit of a run wide from the leader there. That is Richards, and he's allowed Butcher to go up the inside. And that is through Coppice. And in the meantime, Richards about to lose out second to his teammate. And that is the case. But it's side by side between the Zancho SimSport drivers as Kell gets through on Richards and bumps the curbs. The right-hand side of the car goes skyward nearly. As some of the drivers... one of the SLR Motorsport BMWs has gone off the circuit. Absolute disaster. Chris Butcher puts in the fastest lap as there's more argy-bargy. Mitchell's been sput out on the exit of Redgate. So Mitchell gets punted out as... more Constantinas in the third. That was Lewis McGlade getting involved there, unfortunately. So he's now come a bit of a cropper there. Costas Avram, I think, was the MG that was spinning around there. And now it is 1 Astra against 2 Ford Focus RSs. As Kell sends it up the inside through Butcher. And Butcher tags the rear of the Focus. But that allows our pole sitter Richards to get back into the lead. Kell on the outside of Butcher at the minute as they make their way down the Dunlop Straight through to the Fogarty S's. A bit of airtime there for Jack Nichols. As, that was brazen if I ever thought it from Butcher. Sent it up the inside of, that was Dan Kell. Sam Fowler from the leading SRR Motorsport BMW 125i M Sports, trying to go up the inside of Kell into Redgate. And the pair bang door panels side by side through Hollywood they go. And that is Mike Bell just behind them as they go through the craners. This is going to get very hairy very, very quickly. Let's have a look at the replay here. So that was Morby that pitched Mitchell off. And Mitchell tried to rejoin safely. McGlade has to go one side. And then Avram just goes spinning. Now, I wasn't too sure if there was contact. Fastest lap of the race so far as battle for third and fourth position as Mike Bell gets past Dan Kell for position. That's for P3. But Jack Nichols, the fastest driver out there, a 1:09.063 from the Mercedes driver. Now on to lap number 4 of 16 here at Donington Park National. Nichols sizing up the number 27 BMW of Fowler coming through the Fogarty S's as all four wheels off track, but Nichols keeps the throttle planted well and truly to the floor as again Cal trying to go up the inside of Bell for P3, but nice defensive work there as Cal runs wide. That's going to allow both Fowler and Nichols to close on the back bumper of the Ford Focus and through the Craner curves. And in the meantime, the gap now is extending to nearly 1.5 seconds between first and second position. There's Alexander Vuda up to P10 already in the number 38 Ford Focus. And just behind him is Scott Sovic in the last of the 3 Smile Power Racing Vauxhall Astras. So they're now coming through Coppice. And they're going to make their way down to the Dunlop Straight. And Van der Vuda and Scott Sovic. Well, Sovic is actually slightly slower by just under 0.3 of a second on the Ford Focus driver. It looks like he's got a better run as there's a great battle here. As Kell definitely coming under the kibosh. Oh, Fowler gets a tank slapper. That's allowing Nichols up the inside in towards the Craner curves. The Mercedes driver, has he got through? It's side by side through the first part of the Craners. Fowler gets back to normal business, but goes off the circuit. And that's very, very wide through the old hairpin. Fowler drops down like a sinking stone, unfortunately. That's allowed Clip and Tad to get past. And also Phil Morby. As Alex Van der Vuda now has both Scott Sovic and the recovering Sam Fowler, who's dropped all the way down to 11th position. Gap between the leaders now has been truncated by Butcher. It was nearly a second and a half behind Matt Richards for the lead. And Butcher's got the pace. His best lap, he's just put in his best lap, a 1:08.7. He's about 2.5 tenths behind Richards. As Van der Vuda battling for 9th place alongside Scott Sovic and Sam Fowler. And there's the change for the lead. Through into the Craners goes Chris Butcher from Smile Power Racing on lap 7 of 16. And a little bit of, you can just see the right rear wheel trying to stop spinning as he comes through. But Richards not letting him go without a fight as they come up the hill. And that is going to be through McLean's and then run towards Coppice before heading onto the Dunlop Straight. Van der Vuda putting on a defensive masterclass, but Fowler trying to send it up the inside of the Ford Focus. Makes the move stick as they head on the way up towards Coppice. And it's not just the fact that Van der Vuda has slipped down from 9th to, well, Sovic has got past. Sovic and Fowler. Fowler, that's the second incident he's been involved in as Butcher being hustled now by Matt Richards. But look out for Mike Bell. Richards going to the outside of Butcher in towards Redgate. Butcher has the inside line. Van der Vuda came out smiling out of the battle for what was P9, just in front of Lewis McGlade, the lowest place of the Zansho Simsport Ford Focus RSs. So Chris Butcher now has the lead. A win will give you 20 points, but then in the next race will give you 60 kilos of ballast. So it's Butcher from Richards. the pair are still battling away like you'd never think they were rivals, would you? Mike Bell is about half a second adrift, so he's got the ringside seat. Jack Nichols is in P4 ahead of Dan Kell, Matthew Clipp, Max Tad, Phil Morby, Alexander van der Hude, Lewis McGlade, who's still just behind the Ford Focus. There's two-wheel Skyward for Richards there on the entrance into the foggy S's. Scott Sovic, Sam Fowler, Scott Mitchell now puts in his fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 9.5, but he's down in P13. Oh, contact between the leaders. Butchers into the barriers. Butchers into the barriers quite heftily there. And that allows Mike Bell to take the lead. And here comes Jack Nichols. He's up into P2 and he's got Dan Kell side by side with him through the graders. Absolutely captivating action here at Donington Park National. Butcher returns to the circuit, but now in P4. Richards down to 6 behind Matthew Clipp. The 92 Cadan Casual Apex MG6 GT. But my goodness, Jack Nichols started on the outside of row 3 on P6. He's now battling with Dan Kell, who was alongside him on row 3, let's not forget. So lap 9 out of 16, and Nichols has got a really good battle on his hand. Oh, the Mercedes runs wide onto the Dunlop straight, and that allows Kell to get through easily. Slight mistake there from Nichols, but he's still pretty much in striking distance and takes a bit more apex and a bit more sausage curve on the Fogarty S's behind Dan Kell. So bottom right-hand corner, you can see Jack Nichols trying to close up on Dan Kell. Matt Richards has the fastest lap of the race. Oh, another Astra having a bit of a moment there, and that was Scott Sovic. And that is just behind, and he's got Sam Fowler breathing on his exhaust pipe as the BMW from SRR goes up the inside, takes the position. That's P11. So Fowler did have enough room to make the move. Sovic having to run wide, and just behind is the other King's Mercedes. That is Scott Mitchell in the number 22. So lap 10 of 16, Bell leads by over 4 seconds from Dan Kell, who has got Jack Nichols in the 29 Kings Racing Mercedes, breathing up his exhaust pipe. And it's Matthew Clipp in the 92 MG6, Chris Butcher, who is battling away with Matt Richards, Butcher in 5th, as Phil Morby has had a great run in the number 14 Subaru Levorg GT. Now he's up into P6. There's Fowler, Sovic and Mitchell, very committed through the Fogarty S's. As the rear-wheel drive BMW from SRR of Fowler gets a good run, coming towards Redgate. There's Mitchell, looking up the inside, gets a little bit of a sniff up the inside of Sovic there, but can't get through. Oh, bit of a moment there. That was for McGlade, and Fowler could have gone up the inside through Hollywood. So a bit of a tank slapper for Lewis McGlade in the 78 Ford Focus. Fowler still trying to push the Sancho Simsport driver into a mistake. As Bell still has a commanding lead as Foster up the inside of McGlade. Oh, the pair touch panels there, a little bit of Rubbings racing. And a little bit more argy-bargy, and just behind them is Scott Sovic, who's got the ringside seat. I think Scott Mitchell definitely doing a very good strategic call there in the 22 Mercedes, waiting to see what kicks off out in front. As McGlade in the tow, going into the Fogarty S's on Fowler, as Fowler nearly runs 2 wheels on the grass. McGlade up his back bumper. As Fowler definitely having a good job there, as it looks to me that we've had, there's Matt Richards in the number 4, Sancho Simsport Ford Focus RS, just behind Phil Morby. He's about a 7, he's a little bit just behind the Subaru. But the gap between the leaders still extending. McGlade still battling away as Fowler has got past for P10. Mitchell on the back bumper of Sovic and goes for the move. That's a great move if he gets it. Mitchell through on the inside of the Smart Power Racing Astra from Slovic. And that was through McLean's. And he made the move stick through the run down to Coppice, or the run up to Coppice. Richards has been closed in a little bit on by Max Tad, SRR Motorsport BMW. Not many drivers opting to go for the, well, a few of the drivers have actually gone for the option tyre, which is the hard compound. And the leading driver on that is Alexander van der Voorde, as Richards sends it up the inside through the exit of Hollywood on Morby. And then Tad tries to stick his BMW's nose in the front of the Subaru. Can't get it done through the old hairpin. There's Ben Willis in 85 Drag Racing Subaru, having a great scrap here with Costas Avram. He mixes it through. It's nearly side by side between the pair of them, through the exit of the old hairpin, heading up to McLean's. So we're on lap 13 of 16 now. Van der Voorde is now closing on the battle between Scott Mitchell and Scott Slovic. And that's for P11. There's Peter Bennett in 17th in the MG6. One of the Rage Racing entries. There's Matthew Clitt running in P4. There's Matt Richards still having to paddle away with Max Tad. And here comes Phil Morby in the Subaru, who's not done yet, I think. As they go down through Hollywood into the Craner Curves. But Mike Bell at the moment is quite comfortably leading proceedings. He's about 4.5 seconds up the road from Dan Kell at the minute. So 4.8 seconds between first and second position as Richards. As Max Tad going up the inside as Avram and Ben Willis still battling away. This is for 14th on the road. Top 15 will score points. There will be a point for the fastest lap as long as that drive is in the top 15. Oh, as Morby goes very off track there in the Subaru, trying to get his way past. It's rear-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive there. As, oh, little bit of a touch from behind on Richards by Morby. The slightest of rubs there, I think, as we go on to lap number 15 of 16 here at Donington Park National. Fastest lap at the moment is in the hands of Matt Richards. And he's still got Sam Fowler right on the back bumper within a car length, going through the Craners. A good job from Mike Bell, who's on course to showcase the fact that the Astra is king of the hill for the minute after the first race. So he comes over the bump here on the Dunlop straight, heading towards the Fogarty S's. So Sam Fowler is ahead of Scott Mitchell. Mitchell trying to get a top 10 position. So if he gets 10th place, he'll get 6 points. He'll still get off the mark, even though as they, it's a bit like fluke plats there. These cars, they're literally still doing the vault over the hump on the Dunlop straight. There's Fowler still in the Ford and Mercedes sandwich. As Fowler locks up a little bit, going through the entrance and the exit of Redgate there. As we fast approach the conclusion of this first race here, here's Chris Butcher, and he's got Max Tad and Matt Richards side by side going up the hill towards McLean's. And Tad gets past by the Ford Focus. Butcher runs a little bit wide on the approach onto Coppice. Goes defensive very quickly. As, oh my goodness me, Tad going up the inside through the exit of Coppice. And here comes Morby as well. As it's 2x2 formation, 2 lines of them, as it's nearly 3 abreast going into the Fogarty S's. Oh my goodness. And you can just see how much they're pushing it to try and get themselves all sorted. But we are pretty much on the final lap, and Mike Bell is just a few moments away from taking the first victory of the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship being held here for round 1 of 10. As Mitchell definitely getting stuck in here with Fowler and McGlade. That is with McGlade, and there is a BMW just up ahead. That is Sam Fowler. So Fowler, Mitchell's up. He could even get P9 if he's lucky. He's got to just time it right as the Mercedes driver from King's Racing, and the number 22. As we now see on the left-hand side of your screens at home, Mike Bell coming down the Dunlop Straight. What is effectively the final time through the Fogarty S's. One more time, and from Smile Power Racing, Mike Bell in the number 5 Astra takes the opening victory here at Donington Park. What a great job by Bell. He picks up 20 points for his troubles. And this battle for P9 is still waging on as McGlade trying to go side by side. Oh, there's contact between him and Mitchell. Mitchell was looking great for an absolutely brilliant finish there. I think if he'd had the chance, not too sure if that might be investigated. But in many respects, that was very, very close indeed. Dan Kell takes 17 points for finishing in second position. Great job by Jack Nichols. Made sure he used every opportunity he could to take 15 points in that race. Fourth goes to Matthew Clipp. That's 13 points for his troubles in P4. Max Tad will have 11 points on his board. Ahead of Chris Butcher, who rounds out the top 6. That's 10 points in his pockets. Phil Morby, that is P7. Then Matt Richards, our pole sitter, will take 8 points for finishing in 8th, and also took the fastest lap, so that's 10 points for his efforts so far at the minute. But obviously that depends on if anyone gets any faster than a 1 minute 8.534. Then it's Lewis McGlade, Sam Fowler, Scott Sovic, Alexander van der Voorde, Ben Willis, Scott Mitchell, and Costas Avram, who ran out the points finishers, with Daniel Slattery, Daniel Hyde, and Peter Bennett rounding out the full grid. Sure, no worries, I did, mate. It's now time for the second of 3 races here at Donington Park National for the opening round of the VMO Touring Car UK Championship. And it's been an interesting one. Mike Bell from Smile Power Racing now jumps into the lead of the standings on 20 points ahead of Dan Kell from Sancho Simsport, with Jack Nichols rounding out the top 3 as the drivers now are lined up on the grid. So it's Bell from Kell, Nichols, Clip, Tad, Butcher as we go on to the formation lap here. So Mike Bell, having won the first race, will start on pole position in the number 5 Smile Power Racing Vauxhall Astra. Dan Kell in the Ford Focus RS from Sancho Simsport will be alongside him on the front row. Then it's the 29 Kings Racing Mercedes of Jack Nichols and the 92 Cadan Casual Apex MG6 from Matthew Clip. That's row 2. Max Tad in the 35 SRR Motorsport BMW 1 Series. Chris Butcher in the 65 Vauxhall Astra alongside. Then it's Phil Morby in the 14 Subaru with the Ford of the number 4 Ford of Matt Richards. Lewis McGlade in the 78. Sam Fowler in the 27. Scott Sovic in the 55. Alexander van der Voorde in the 38. Ben Willis in the 85. Scott Mitchell in the 22 Mercedes. Costas Avram in the MG6, 26. Daniel Slattery, Daniel Hyde and Peter Bennett rounding out the 18 strong. Please feel free to head to the Virtual Motorsport Online Facebook and Twitter pages and register your interest, as we have plenty of places on the grid for our next race, which takes place in the Garden of England at Brands Hatch, Indy, on the 9th of June. So once again, we reset it to 16 laps here at the 1.98 mile Donington Park National Circuit. Looks like Morby's trying to get a bit of heat in the tyres on the Levorg, which will start on the inside of row 4. There's Sovic. Had a great battle. There was a great battle between him, McGlade, Fowler, and also Mitchell. And Mitchell will start on the outside of row number 7. As the front row now starts to make its way onto the starting grid, and Van der Voorde looks to be opting for the pit lane here, so he'll have to wait for the entire field to go past. Right, everyone is in their starting positions, ready for 16 laps of racing here, as Mike Bell briefly reverses. So the red lights ignite on the starting gantry for race 2. And we are off and away. Great start from Dan Kell, who pulls up alongside Mike Bell and goes towards the outside into Redgate for the first time. Nichols being hustled on the inside. That looks to be Max Tad in the BMW. As Kell has made the move, or has he? So Bell just slots in behind the Sancho Ford Focus. Max Tad in P3. Jack Nichols P4. Morby up to P5 from 7th already, and he's ahead of Chris Butcher. Matthew Clip is now in P7, ahead of Matt Richards, Lewis McGlade, and Sam Fowler. As, bit of a clash between the leaders, and round the outside goes Max Tad on Mike Bell. Up towards Coppice, and the rear-wheel drive of the BMW will have more traction coming out of the corner onto the Dunlop straight, and he makes the move. Brilliant move there by Max Tad to go up to P2 when both Kell and Bell actually connected there going through McLean's. So obviously, this is for the first time as we complete lap 1 of race 2. Fastest lap, Dan Kell, 16.081. So that is from the current leader. Up the inside, Chris Butcher has the cheeky look up the inside of Phil Morby and gets the position. Up into P5 goes the Astra. Just behind, Matthew Clip is battling away with Matt Richards side by side through the Craners. And Richards has made the move as Bell goes very, very wide through the exit of the old hairpin. And that is allowing Nichols to go side by side with the Astra. Up into McLean's. Nichols gets through. Nice job by the Mercedes. As they, that looks to be the Drake Racing Subaru that's gone wide there. moment, it is still Tad. He's ahead of Kell, and Kell has got the fastest lap. Oh, there's a bit of bargy between the pair. Nichols goes a bit too hefty into the curbs on the approach into the Fogarty S's. He's got the Astras of Bell and Butcher right up behind him. And that could be that Bell is to his left. Butcher just behind. As up the inside of Kell goes Tad for the lead. Whilst they're battling away, the three behind who are embroiled in their own battle for P3. Fastest lap of the race has gone to Alexander van der Velde in the number 38 Ford Focus down in P15. As Nichols has got a good run on Dan Kell and keeps the foot planted. He's going to try and go up the inside of Kell through the exit of the old hairpin. Doesn't quite work for the King's Racing Mercedes quite yet. But just behind, Butcher has got ahead of Bell. So Bell, who started on pole position, has got Matt Richards up his back bumper for company. So that is two Sancho SimSport Ford Focus RSs into the top six. And they are covered by just 1.5 seconds as they come down the Dunlop straight into the Fogarty Estes. Max Tad still leads for SRR Motorsport. Kell is about 0.3 of a second behind, maybe even less than that, as he is in the tow, coming down the Wheatcroft straight here into Redgate. Tad a bit more measured on the brakes. Nichols not that far behind. He's about 0.4 behind this battle for the lead and runs wide. And kicks up a bit of dust. And that allows Butcher to go up the inside of the King's Racing Mercedes through into P3. Nichols did a really good job of capitalising on other people's misfortune last time out to take the last step of the rostrum. Whereas Mike Bell is battling away with Matt Richards. So Richards, in this respect, is going to try and go side by side with the Astra on the exit of the old hairpin. Can't quite get through. Phil Morby's got Sam Fowler from SRR battling away with him for P7. And these battles are a lot more concertinaed than they were in the first race. Whereas Mike Bell now having that ballast penalty as, oh, one of the Astras has gone off. That's one of the Smile Power Racing Astras that has had a bit of a moment. There's Scott Mitchell. Now up into P12, and he's got Ben Willis from Drake Racing, the Subaru Levorg GT just up ahead. And it is not getting any easier for some of the drivers. Sam Fowler getting past Mike Bell quite easily. Oh, it's going to be three abreast with Lewis McGlade up the middle. That's absolutely brazen from the Ford Focus driver. And the person that's capitalised of it is not McGlade. Let's just have a look. That is Matt Richards, I think, that has got through there, possibly. But McGlade tried to make it three abreast going into Redgate, and it did not work. Fowler was able to capitalise. Costa Stavram having a bit of his own luck in the MG from FMP in the number 26. Chris Butcher now has the fastest lap of this particular race here. So the 6 laps of 16 currently underway here in the second round, the second race here at Donington Park National. Max Tad leads by about a second. Oh, it's getting feisty between Morby and Fowler for P5, just behind Jack Nichols. Nichols is a bit further up the road, and he's not that far behind, by about 0.8 behind Chris Butcher. Max Tad now sets the fastest lap of the race. He's got some clean air. So the BMW will start to try and pull a gap over the Focus of Kell as Morby tries to go up the inside. That is for P5, and McGlade is there. Richards is there. Avram is there. This is an absolute slobber knocker here. And Ben Willis is bringing another Subaru into the party. Then Scott Mitchell and Scott Sovic. This could be a battle that could really go explosive very, very shortly as Morby leads the train. That is from P5 to P12.
So it's... I can't really sort of believe my eyes here. You think touring car racing was tough. I mean, what are these guys are having to do here? But nice move up the inside of Richards. I think it was Avram taking the position as Fowler looking up the inside of Morby there. That is for the place, and that is down the Dunlop straight. So if Morby decides to brake early, he could allow Fowler to get through. Oh, Fowler makes an easy move through there on the Fogarty S's. And there is Lewis McGlade trying to pick up the straps. He's going side by side with the Subaru down the main straightaway into Redgate. Down the Wheaton straight they go. And the Focus could pull ahead of the Subaru just slightly, but the Subaru will have the inside run for the corner. And Avram trying to go up the inside now. McGlade, that's brazen from the 26 MG6 driver. And I think he's got the move done going through the Craners. And in the meantime, Richards losing out to Mitchell there through the Craners. So Matt Richards on the back foot already, and we're in race 2 of the first of the season. My goodness me. There's Costas Avram having to battle away tooth and nail with Lewis McGlade, and Scott Mitchell going up the inside of Ben Willis there. Trying to make the move, going through McLean's, can't get through past on the Subaru quite yet as they go up the hill slightly to go through to Coppice. So at the moment, McGlade, whilst he's battling away with Avram, that's going to allow Willis to close up. Scott Mitchell has lost a little bit of distance there. And he's got Alexander van der Voorde just behind. Max Tad, in the meantime, still has the fastest lap of the race. As typical touring car style there from Scott Mitchell. Going on the apex of the entrance into the Fogarty S's. Sam Fowler now has got a bit of a breathing space between himself and Phil Morby by about 1.1 seconds. Sam Fowler's now set a personal best. Avram swarming all over the back bumper of the Subaru of Morby, going through the Craners, just behind his McGlade. As McGlade's going to try and go through the move. Is he going to make it stick on the MG? Coming out of the old hairpin, side by side between the MG and the Focus up the hill towards McLean's. Willis is trying to go up the inside of McGlade now. As McGlade makes the move. Oh, a little bit of a touch there on Avram by Willis, and that allows Mitchell to get through. And another touch on van der Voorde this time, and that's by Matt Richards, who's got Scott Sovic up the inside of him, going through Coppice. Brilliant action here on the second race of the meeting here at Donington Park. As Mitchell, right on the back bumper, he's looking to make amends for what happened to him last time out, and this was the corner where it happened. He's up into P9 already. Avram runs wide in the MG. Oh! Ran straight into the path of Mitchell. Mitchell had nowhere to go. So Avram now becomes a casualty. He will drop down the order. Mitchell now up into P8. As Matt Richards and Alexander van der Voorde has got Scott Sovic with them. Van der Voorde up the inside of Richards. Sovic not quite there, as well as trying to catch up to the back bumper of Mitchell. We're on board with Alexander van der Voorde of the Ford Focus here. 6th gear, 200 kph on the approach into McLean's, down the gearbox into 4th, 120 kph. Now he's going to start accelerating. 5th, down to 4th, 120 through the corner. He's going to build the speed. 4th, 5th. 6th gear is going to hit about 210 kph before he brakes. Well, make that nearly 220. That's 140 miles an hour through into the Fogarty S's. Nice and clean there. Sam Fowler now gets the fastest lap of this race. 1 minute 9.307. That's 8/10 off of the lap from Matt Richards in the first race here at Donington Park. As Scott Mitchell still now in P8, but he's got Ben Willis breathing all over his back bumper in the Subaru Levorg. Max Tanner has pulled the gap from the remainder of the field, which includes Chris Butcher. Chris Butcher could be on course for 27 points at the end of this race. Mike Bell, in the meantime, has struggled. He's now down in P13 at the minute, as we're on to lap number 11 of this race. So Scott Sovic looking to go up the inside of Alexander van der Voorde, and that is through the exit of McLean's and on the short blast down to Coppice. Mitchell trying to put on a defensive masterclass on Ben Willis, and he's got another Subaru up in front. That's Phil Morby, who's got Lewis McGlade just up ahead. Nice and calmly composed there by Scott Mitchell through the Fogarty S's. And Mitchell is only about 10.9, well, he's about 11 seconds off of the leaders, but he's trying to close on Phil Morby. And that time around, Scott Mitchell a 1 minute 9.6, Phil Morby a 1 minute 10.2. So Mitchell in the Mercedes is about 0.6 of a second quicker at the minute. So Sam Fowler has been the fastest through sectors 1 and 2 throughout this race. Dan Kell in the number 18 in the number 89 Focus, currently rounding out the top 3 at the minute. He's the fastest through sector 3 here at Donington Park. As Mitchell now closing on Morby. The gap now 0.3 of a second between the Mercedes and the Subaru just in front. And along with him, Mitchell is bringing Willis, or is Willis thinking of other ideas? Well, he was trying to think of going up the inside of the Mercedes through into Coppice, but did not really have the amount of gap that he needed, or either the amount of momentum to keep him alongside Mitchell. He comes out of the Fogarty S's as Van der Voorde runs all 4 wheels off the track there on the exit. Rounding out the top 12 positions is the number 38. Down into Redgate, there's Dan Hyde, currently rounding out the field. A bit lonesome, unfortunately, for the Mercedes, for the MG in the number 2. He's also been participating in other categories at the moment, including the E-Team Brit Summer Series that had its series finale last Friday. As Mike Bell having a great scrap with Dan Slattery from Rage Racing. Bell's on the hard tyres, that's the option tyre for this round. And there's Sam Fowler, who has been closing all the time like a dark horse in the night. Even though his colour scheme on that BMW is very clearly white, he is right on the back bumper for P2 on Dan Kell from Sancho Simsport in the Ford Focus. It's front-wheel drive against rear-wheel drive, and just behind is Chris Butcher. So Chris Butcher is trying to make it. He's trying to go up the inside 2 wheels. He clashes with the Focus. Oh, Fowler gets knocked into a tailspin. Oh my goodness me. Fowler had gotten the move done. Butcher went up the inside of Kell, and they both went barreling along into the side of Fowler, who was already up into P2 and could have gotten away from the pair. That's a real shame for the SRR Motorsport driver. That could have been 17 points in his pocket. And the moment, the way things stand with it being lap number 14, there's Jack Nichols. Another solid top 5 performance from the Kings Racing 29 Mercedes A45. And just behind him, that's Lewis McGlade, who's leading Phil Morby. Scott Mitchell is still within striking distance of the number 14 Subaru. And that would be a pretty good shout for the Kings Racing drivers. And there is Mike Bell. He's still trying to close in on Daniel Slattery. But here's the battle up ahead, and McGlade has caught up to Jack Nichols. So this is going to be a feisty battle, as that is Mitchell on the outside of Morby through Redgate. Does he get the move? He doesn't, but he opens the door for Ben Willis. Down into the crevice they drop, and that is 2 Subarus ahead of a Mercedes, or is it? Well, I think Mitchell is not going to let that 8th place position, opportunity to fight, as that's the Focus going wide, and that is Matt Richards. And the battle again for second possession is really heating up, as Fowler now wants to get back past both Butcher and Kell for what is second position. So Fowler could have been in the hunt for maybe even a top 5 last time out. As we're on lap number 15, he's going to try and use the advantage of the rear-wheel drive of the BMW to go up the inside of Dan Kell. Oh, nicely done into the Fogarty S's. Kell tries to go toward the outside. He clips the rear of the BMW, but the BMW is going to have better traction coming out of the Fogarty S's. But Kell going towards the outside of Redgate. Fowler will have the inside run. That's a really good job by the Mercedes, as Jack Nichols gets punted into from behind. Oh, Morby spins and collects Willis, as Nichols and Mitchell now make a set P6 and P7 respectively in the 2 Mercedes. So Dan Kell now has dropped about a couple of seconds behind Chris Butcher.
As Willis again gets collected, and that is by Alex van der Verde. But I'm just wondering if Willis had a moment there. So at the minute, Max Tad has got an absolutely humongous lead, over 7 seconds over Chris Butcher. They've started 5th and 6th respectively, so they started as Max Tad now starts the final lap here on race 2 of the meeting here at Donington Park National. Brakes going into Redgate. There's Ben Willis now down in P11, and he's followed by, well, there's a considerable distance between him and the other Subaru of Morby Motorsports, Phil Morby, who goes 4 wheels off at the Fogarty S's, as Willis trying to go up the inside of Alexander van der Verde for P10, and that is through Redgate, and they drop down to Hollywood, through into the Craners, and Willis has got through. So momentarily we will see what happens as Fowler and Butcher still battling over 2nd position on the final lap, as Max Tad has gone through Coppice for what's going to be the final time. Fowler's got ahead, and this could be very much a brilliant way for the first 1-2 of the season, and that will be SRR Motorsport. But in the meantime, Max Tad very shortly will have crossed the finish line, and here he comes, the number 35 from SRR Motorsport, makes it 2 different winners from the first 2 races, and Sam Fowler makes it an SRR Motorsport BMW 1-2. Chris Butcher rounds out the top 3. Dan Kell will be the highest place of the Sancho Simsport cars in the 89 in P4, ahead of teammate Lewis McGlade in the 78. Jack Nichols will take 6th position ahead of Scott Sovic from the Smile Power Racing Astra crew in the 55. Matt Richards, Scott Mitchell and Alexander van der Verde round out the top 10 ahead of Ben Willis, Phil Morby, who could have been on course for a top 6 finish, Daniel Slattery, Mike Bell, Kostas Avram, who was embroiled in that really great battle earlier on, which could have seen him maybe take a top 8 finish, Peter Bennett, Matthew Clipp and Daniel Hyde rounding out the 18 strong. What an exciting race 2 here at Donington Park. the third and final race at Donington Park National for the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship. We've had to make sure that everyone's on the right positions on the grid and also apply the respective success ballast. So your grid for the third and final 16-lap race here at Donington Park National before we head to Brands Hatch Indy in just 2 weeks' time on the 9th of June is as follows. It's a Subaru front row with Phil Morby in the number 14 and Ben Willis in the Drake Racing 85 alongside. Then it's Alexander van der Voorde and Scott Mitchell in the 38 Focus and the 22 Mercedes respectively. Matt Richards in the 4 Focus will have the 55 Astra of Scott Sovic alongside. Jack Nichols in the 29 Mercedes will have Lewis McGlade in the Sancho Simsport 78 Focus on the outside of row number 4, with Dan Kell in the 89 and Chris Butcher in the 65 rounding out the top 10. Sam Fowler in the 27, Max Tad in the 35, Daniel Slattery in the 24, Mike Bell in the 5, Costas Avram in the 26 MG, the 87 of Peter Bennett. And then we also have Matthew Clibb in the 92 and Daniel Hyde in the 2. Those are the Cadan Casual Apex MGs at the back of the field. So the grid makes its way, weaving the tyres as much as they can to bring in temperature to both the brakes and also the tyres ahead of racing here. There's only one driver that's gone for the option tyre, and that is the number 89 of Dan Kell, who will be on the inside of Chris Butcher in the 65 Smile Power Racing Motorsport Astra. So we wait for the final couple of cars, which will be Bennett, Clip and Hyde, to line up on the grid here at Donington Park. Once things are in position, we'll be ready for 16 laps here at Donington Park. Build one final time here at Donington Park. The red lights ignite on the gantry. And we are off and away for 16 laps here. As Morby getting chased down by Willis on the rundown, as it is nearly 3 abreast. Just behind with Richards, Van der Voorde and Scott Mitchell. Mitchell slots back into P5 at the moment. As there's a couple of Rage Racing MGs alongside each other going through into the Craners. And that looks to be Peter Bennett is just behind the 24 of Daniel Slattery, with Daniel Hyde bringing up the rear. So Phil Morby gets an initial advantage as we have quite a few side-by-side battles behind the 2 Subarus, as Willis looks to have a better run coming out of McLean's as one of the SRR Motorsports goes sideways. And I'm just trying to catch who that was, as Nichols getting definitely very feisty, and that is the number 89 of Dan Kell just up ahead, as Willis getting the inside run going through into the Fogarty S's for the first time as we are about to complete lap number 1. Matt Richards and the Sancho Simsport Focus goes very, very wide. A bit of contact between McGlade and Van der Voorde. So that's a trio of Focuses battling over third position, as it's the Kings Racing teammates nearly side by side going through red gates as Nichols goes up the inside of Mitchell. Mitchell gets a little bump from behind, I think, from that is Scott Sovic, as Mitchell going brazen up the inside of his teammate down through Hollywood, as Mitchell absolutely sends it up the inside of Nichols, and Nichols quickly back on the counter offensive towards the exit of the old hairpin, but then has to relent and get back in beside his behind his teammate. So at the moment, Ben Willis has got a bit of daylight between himself, but not by much. He set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 16.145. So at the moment, it's Willis leading in the Subaru, and it's the Subaru 1-2 with Phil Morby in second position. Then it's the number 4 Focus of Matt Richards. Lewis McGlade in the 78. Van der Voorde making it a trio of Focuses that round out the top 5 in the 38 Focus. Chris Butcher, Scott Mitchell, Jack Nichols, Scott Sovic and Sam Fowler. That's your top 10. Matt Richards puts in the fastest lap of the race. That's his, and he's up past Phil Morby. So the Sancho Focus up as, I think now, did Morby have a moment, or did he get tagged by McGlade? Didn't really quite catch it fully. But McGlade definitely looking racy, as just ahead of Scott Mitchell is Chris Butcher. And at the moment, Butcher currently on 25 points, level with Jack Nichols at the minute, in terms of the championship positions by my reckoning. But obviously all event results will be confirmed after the event by the Virtual Motorsport Organisation, the governing body of the Touring Car UK Championship. But Scott Mitchell is definitely looking a bit racy. He's over 0.2 of a second quicker than Chris Butcher, just up ahead in the 65 Smile Power Racing Astra. Excuse me. So again, we now are on lap number 5. Let's have a look at the replay here. So that is McGlade. And there now the thing was, Morby actually went a bit tail happy coming out of Redgate, and McGlade, I think, didn't really have anywhere to go. So it's I'd class that possibly as a racing incident, as Nichols has lost some gap between himself and lost a bit of distance between himself and Scott Mitchell. As here is a battle between Richards and McGlade. This is for P3. Morby's back up ahead, so it is still Subaru from Subaru. 2 Fords, make that 3 Fords with Van der Voorde in the 38. Chris Butcher. That makes it the lead Astra ahead of 2 Mercedes, and that is Mitchell leading Nichols. Scott Sovic and Sam Fowler. BMW's not having such a great run this time, obviously, with the amount of success ballast. And the winner last time was Max Tad, and he is struggling. He's down in P11 behind Fowler, his teammate. As now the battle for second position quite clearly on between McGlade, Richards down in 4th, and Morby just up ahead in the second Subaru. As up the inside of Van der Voorde goes Butcher, and Mitchell swarming all over the back bumper as Van der Voorde and Butcher tag doors and through the craners. This is getting very brazen and very brave from Mitchell. He's got up the inside of Butcher. He's got up the inside of Van der Voorde. That's a brilliant move from Scott Mitchell. And here comes Jack Nichols. Oh no! Contact between Butcher and Mitchell again, and Van der Voorde gets collected. Oh, second race this time around for Scott Mitchell. He made the move stick as Nichols runs wide, coming out of McLean's. What a disaster, but Mitchell still in P9. And Nichols now up into P6. He's got Sam Fowler, who finished in 2nd position and got the fastest lap of the race last time around. So we're now going to go on to lap number 7 out of 16. As McGlade and Richards going side by side. Richards on the inside down the weak down into Redgate. As Nichols has got Fowler quickly closing on the back bumper of the Mercedes through into Redgate. And then it's going to be the drop down into Hollywood before they really pick up speed with the momentum roller coaster that is the Craner Curves. And it's line astern between the 2 Subarus. Morby right up the back bumper of Willis as they go through the old hairpin. And the 2 focuses of Richards and McGlade as McGlade runs a bit wide going through the exit of the old hairpin. Nichols hanging on ahead of Sam Fowler, while Scott Sovic has made a bit of a getaway in the Vauxhall Astra from Smile Power Racing. Sovic has scored the least amount of points at the minute, as Richards really closing on the back bumper through McLean's on, well, that actually Coppice. And that is on the run down towards the Fogarty S's. Morby goes defensive. As Richards absolutely sends it with commitment. McGlade runs wide coming out of the S's. And Richards on the back bumper of Morby. This is the battle for P2. Richards up the inside, down the Wheatcroft Straight. Is he going to outbrake the Subaru? Oh, he's going to try and muscle his way through. The pair go side by side. Morby keeps it planted. They go down into Hollywood, into the Craners. A bit more door banging from the pair of them. This could get very ugly very, very quickly indeed. Morby gives a bit of a shove back of his own as Richards finally makes the moves. And in the meantime, McGlade clatters in to the door panel of Morby, who now will drop from 2nd to 4th if he's not careful. Through McLean's they go. McGlade has made the move. And Morby still trying to hang on to P3. Can't make it work. But Willis now has a battle on his hands. Dan Kell is in the meantime embroiled in a battle with Dan Slattery in the MG from Rage Racing. You can just see how committed is Morby up the inside of McGlade. That is for position. That's for P3 on the road, and just behind is Scott Sovic, who's been closing on the perron. 3 wide, does it? Morby loses it, goes 4 wheels off of the corner. Nichols has to avoid, gets in the front of Sam Fowler and manages to keep the position. Oh, that was definitely a defibrillator moment there, I think, for not just Phil Morby, but also for Jack Nichols in the same point. As Dan Kell goes clattering into the side of Dan Slattery, and here's Costas Avram. So that is now a battle for P10. But that was brave from Morby. Makes it 3 wide. As McGlade tries to go up the inside. Sovic nearly capitalised on that particular moment. So let's have a look at the replay here. Okay, so Morby keeps it planted. McGlade is there and could have the inside run. Here's Sovic. And he's just taking the neatest line out of the trio. Goes up the inside of McGlade. Great slow-mo pickup from Simply Race picking this up. Morby has got nowhere to go apart from off-track. The rear end of the vehicle breaks traction. He's got opposite lock a la Tokyo Drift. Sovic has got it up the inside. McGlade goes through and gets ahead of Sovic. That was a hot-in-the-mouth moment. Dan Kell now battling away with Costas Avram. This is for P11. Oh, a bit too much curb and sausage curb there mounting from Costas Avram. Scott Sovic, in the meantime, is battling away with Sam Fowler for P3 along with Lewis McGlade. Max Tan still battling away. There's Dan Kell being forced a little bit wide through Redgate by Costas Avram. And Kell, all 4 wheels off the circuit, kicking up the grass as he does so, going through Hollywood. We're on to lap number 10 as Willis and Richards, if we can catch up with the leaders, aren't that far apart. So Willis, oh my goodness me, Slattery and Tad off the circuit. And here is Richards. He's got the fastest lap. He's now on the back bumper of Ben Willis. And this is on the run up from McLean's up to Coppice. Through down the Dunlop straight they go over the hump here. So Richards has really got to time it. Willis is going to go defensive through the Fogarty S's. Try to take as minimal amount of sausage curve as he can. But Richards gets a really good run. Okay, here's a little bit of a replay here. This is Jack Nichols with Phil Morby as, Nichols completely loses it. And he's gone sideways, but that's snap understeer into oversteer, but he's caught it, and he is now behind Scott Mitchell, who's recovered up into P7 of the as the lead Mercedes from Kings Racing. But Ben Willis absolutely doing a great job here defending against Matt Richards. Richards not giving him an inch to breathe as they go up the hill into McLean's. And you can just see how defensive Willis is being as he's making sure he doesn't make any mistakes. He leaves the door ever so slightly open for Richards. As just behind, McGlade is coming under pressure from Sovic. He's going towards the outside, towards Coppice. As now the leaders make their way down the straightaway. So Willis still ahead of Richards. Richards took pole position for race 1, let's not forget. As here's McGlade battling away with Fowler, Morby, and then Sovic just behind. Scott Mitchell is about 1.2 seconds ahead of his teammate, the recovering Jack Nichols. Stovic goes wide, and that's going to allow Scott Mitchell to close on him. And the gap was about 1.3 seconds, and with that mistake, it's brought it down to about 1.1. As Ben Willis being hustled by Matt Richards going down into the old hairpin. And Willis goes a little bit wide. Richards has a better run coming through the exit up towards McLean's. He's powered round the outside of the Subaru into the approach into McLean's. Great move by Matt Richards to take the lead, but he goes wide coming out of the corner. Oh no, Willis gets the advantage back again, heading up into Coppice. And just behind them, it's McGlade, Morby and Fowler. And that's a really great battle for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and if you include Scott Sovic now, who's right behind them, Scott Mitchell is closing.
We're on lap 12 of 16, and it is absolutely nothing between the leaders. This is a great grandstand finale to round out the action here at the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship at Donington Park for the first of 10 race evenings, going all the way through to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix finale on the 13th of October. Fowler goes defensive on Fowler goes towards Morby. As Morby loses it, he actually takes a bit too much curb going through into the apex of Redgate. Down the hill they come. Lewis McGlade ahead of Morby, Fowler, Sovic. Mitchell is trying to close, and last time around he was only 0.07 of a second quicker than the Smart Power Racing Astra. And we're now on to the roof cam here with Phil Morby, right on the back bumper of the Sancho Simsport 78 Focus. Focus of McGlade. You can just see that McGlade's trying to wrestle with the vehicle. Front wheel drive against rear wheel drive, so the rear wheel drive will have the better traction out of the corners, as Richards is going side by side with Willis on the approach down the Dunlop straight towards the Fogarty S's. About to complete lap number 13. Richards has got the inside run. Is he going to get it? He sweeps past, but Willis tightly gets in behind him and goes side by side across the start finish line. Gap between them 2 1,000ths of a second, as powering forward towards Redgate, and he's got the outside run. Richards up the inside through Redgate between the leaders. They're still side by side going through Hollywood. Great titanic battle for the final race victory here. Richards has yet to get a win on his belt, and neither has Willis, as Willis has got the inside run, but then going down into the old hairpin, Richards has the lead back in his hands. He's got one hand on the top step of the rostrum, but he's still got another 2.5 laps to do this. The Focus is a pretty good all-round package, but the Subaru has the grunt coming out of the corners, especially with the rear-wheel traction. As Sovic now battling all over the back bumper of Fowler. This is for P5, whilst McGlade and Morby are battling for P3, the final step on the rostrum. Scott Mitchell is behind Sovic, and he's losing a little bit of distance between himself. The gap now is about 2.3 seconds, as Morby goes flying over the hump on the Dunlop straight onto the Fogarty S's, as Willis is just behind Richards. The gap now about 0.3 of a second as they go on to start lap number 15 of this race. So 14 laps down, 2 more to go. As Morby getting ever so feisty with the McGlade there. That's going through Redgate, and the pair could nearly be side by side if they're not too careful. But Morby started on pole position. Bit deeper into the braking goes Morby, nearly goes into the back right rear of McGlade's Focus there. As Willis trying to keep pace with Richards, as Richards goes a bit wide going through McLean's. Willis up the inside of the Ford Focus and narrowly gets a bumper ahead and goes through through Coppice. So really great battle between these two. So Richards was leading the previous lap, and now Ben Willis in the drag racing Subaru gets ahead as McGlade is trying to go up the inside of Morby going into the Dunlop S's, and Fowler's trying to look to do the same on the Ford Focus. As the leaders again side by side, Willis on the inside, Richards on the outside going through Redgate. So this is the penultimate lap as the battle is waging all the way through. And now that you can just see what's happening between Morby, McGlade, Fowler and Sovic, Scott Mitchell is not that far behind. He's closing, and closing quickly. Willis runs wide going through the old hairpin exit. That's allowing Richards to get to that place where he can really use the advantage of the Focus's composure. And he gets up to McLean's and takes the lead back. But Willis again gets a better run coming out of McLean's up towards Coppice. They go. Willis goes to the inside. Richards on the outside. The Subaru is going to have the better purchases. He's got the inside run coming out of the corner. But it is side by side heading into the Fogarty S's. And this is now going to go to a titanic last lap battle. Willis up the inside. Oh, clatters into the side of Richards. The pair are side by side on the exit. But Willis gets the traction down perfectly coming through the Fogarty S's across the start finish line. Last lap it is.
what a grandstand finale for the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship here at Donington Park. And if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Phil Morby could make it a Subaru 1-3 unless Lewis McGlade, Sam Fowler, Scott Sovic and now Scott Mitchell could have something to say. But Ben Willis has put in an absolute masterclass in the 85 Drag Racing Subaru Levorg GT here in Lincolnshire. Brilliant job here. Sorry, my apologies. I keep on getting my counties mixed up. But Donington Park, a great circuit here. The 1.98 mile circuit has provided great action, and it is all the way down to the wire between our two leaders as they come through. Coppice for the final time. Down the Dunlop straight they come. Ben Willis has daylight between himself and Matt Richards. Will the Focus driver put it on the line going into the Fogarty S's? He's run on the back bumper. Could he get the run out of the final corner? He hasn't got the opportunity. Willis hangs on. He's going to take it and get the victory here. What a job by Ben Willis, by just 0.2 of a second ahead of Sancho Simsport's Matt Richards. Lewis McGlade has taken P3 ahead of Sam Fowler. Scott Sovic. Scott Mitchell ends up ahead of Phil Morby at the end of it. Dan Kell, Costas Avram and Chris Butcher ran at the top 10. Alexander van der Voorde in P11 ahead of Jack Nichols, who takes P12. Mike Bell, and Daniel Hyde and Peter Bennett round out the top 15, who all score points. Fastest lap of the race goes to Matt Richards for the second race in succession. And he has actually posted the fastest race lap, the fastest lap of a race in the first one, of 1 minute 8.524. Obviously, all these results will be under ratification by the governing body, the Virtual Motorsport Organisation, who will fully publish the results. Well, that was a very exciting opening race meeting here at Donington Park National. 3 different winners from the first 3 out of 30 races, with Ben Willis taking that one. The drag racing Subaru Levorg GT getting a maximum score. Matt Richards, that's another 17 points plus the fastest lap point on there. Lewis McGlade makes it 2 Sancho Simsport Ford Focus RSs on the podium, taking P3. Sam Fowler, that's another great job for the SRR Motorsport driver. Takes 4th place. That is 13 points to his credit. So I'm going to really leave it at that. We're not going to be doing any driver interviews, but what a fantastic race meeting here at the opening race evening of the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship here at Donington Park National. 3 different winners from 3 different races. We go to Brands Hatch Indy in just 2 weeks' time on the 9th of June. Don't forget, please, if you want to make sure that you're on the grid, licenses and also grid spots are available as we speak. So head to the official Virtual Motorsport Online channels on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for joining us here on the Simply Race YouTube channel, the Virtual Motorsport Online Facebook page, Let's Race Facebook page, Simply Race Facebook page, and the Simply Race YouTube channel. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, signing off. See you next time in just 2 weeks when we head to the Garden of England. Thanks for watching.